the White House on high alert, bracing for Mueller's report to drop. White House special counsel Emmett Flood and his team ready to respond, right now gaming out all the scenarios as they are waiting. Today, there was a rare sighting of Robert Mueller today, headed to work at his office. You see him there in the baseball cap. And all eyes are on the special counsel as he wraps up his work. Mueller was appointed 673 days ago by then acting Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. And despite the president publicly attacking the investigation more than 1,100 times, according to the New York Times, Mueller has gotten results. So these are the facts, okay? 199 criminal counts so far, 37 people and companies charged, 29 of them thus far Russia. 7 people have pleaded guilty. 5 have been sentenced to prison, including the former campaign chairman for a presidential candidate of the United States, Paul Manafort. But here's the thing. Even when this report is formally over, which really could at this point come essentially any moment, it's far from over because the president's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, he still hasn't been sentenced. The former Trump campaign official, the deputy chairman, Rick Gates, who was one of the first to be indicted by Mueller, has still not been sentenced. And obviously that could mean they're still providing information on other ongoing inquiries. And there's still the mystery of that unnamed government-owned company that has been a battle royale, a mystery company Mueller believes could provide information for his criminal investigation. And there is, of course, that mystery of what Mueller may have uncovered and passed on to other federal prosecutors, you know, like the Southern District of New York and the whole case with Michael Cohen. That was all passed off from Mueller. Cohen, of course, is going to prison. Now, we showed you the hundreds of pages of unsealed federal warrants targeting Michael Cohen. Here they are again, including the search warrant with the header, the illegal campaign contribution scheme. A scheme prosecutors say Cohen claimed that he acted in coordination with and at the direction of Individual 1. They say they have evidence to prove that, not just his word. Individual 1, a.k.a. President Donald J. Trump. And what follows? 18 and a half pages of redactions. Senior Justice Correspondent Evan Perez is out front. And Evan, you know, when we just look at this and we look at all these redactions, just in this one filing as an example, right? This is what we still don't know. But right now, as we await this Mueller report, it comes out and then all eyes are on the Attorney General, Bill Barr.
That's right, Aaron. What Bill Barr does with this report is obviously very important for us to try to figure out what Bob Mueller actually did during this, what now is 674 days of this investigation. Look, the big question that we all have on our minds is, what did he find on the big question of collusion? Was there actually a conspiracy between members of his campaign, of the president's campaign, and people in Russia, people connected to the government of Russia? Did that actually happen? Was the president aware of any of this? Those are some of the big questions that are still outstanding. And of course, did the president try to obstruct this investigation? That's something that really hasn't shown up in any of the indictments, any of the public documents that have been released by the Mueller investigation so far. Another big question is, did the Mueller investigation try to subpoena the president? Did they ask permission from the Justice Department to subpoena the president? We know that he never sat down for an interview with the investigators as they requested. The question is, did the Justice Department reject that? Did Mueller even ask for it? We do not know. So when Bob Mueller's report lands on the desk of the Attorney General, then he has a decision of how much of that information will be made public, how much of that information will be made provided to Congress, and then, of course, as you said, what parts of this investigation live on for the next year or so.
All right, Evan, thank you very much. And, you know, it is the crucial question is, first of all, what we don't know from Mueller and whether we're going to find that out. And then what more indictments are going to come, whether it be from Mueller or other jurisdictions. And that doesn't even count Congress and what's going on over there. Out front now, the former Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, Harry Sandick, White House correspondent for American Urban Radio Networks, April Ryan, and former Chief of the Organized Crime Section of the Department of Justice, James Trusty, who also is a longtime friend of the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Okay, Harry, 673 days, and this is now imminent. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, word was it could be today.
Yep.
Could be today. Tomorrow. I mean, we are here at the edge. How much of it are we really going to see? Because there are certainly, as Evan points out, so many things we don't know. Did they try to subpoena the president?
Yep.
That in and of itself would be a huge revelation.
Fascinating. And I think we will learn some things in the short term, and then some things will probably come out longer term in the fullness of time. So I predict that when the report is delivered, that there'll probably be some sort of public statement by the Attorney General, because there's been so much attention, or maybe by Rod Rosenstein, saying the report has been turned in, and now it's up to the senior officials within the Department of Justice to review it, to look to see what can be shared and what they think cannot be shared. Grand jury materials, you'd need a court order to share. Certain national security materials you might not want to share for reasons of sensitivity.
Yeah.
The big question is whether the position will be taken that Trump can't be mentioned if he did something wrong because of the DOJ policy that Jim Comey memorably sort of crossed over, talking about somebody's wrongdoing when you don't indict them.
Right. Of course, to even imagine, James Trusty, that happening, it just sort of defies reasonableness at this point, right? Because if you don't mention him and the whole thing's about him, and you know that if you don't mention someone, it's because they did something wrong, well, I think everyone can understand the problem with that circular reasoning.
Well, I mean, look, you could comply with the DOJ prescription against naming names for people that aren't indicted by referring to them as individual one. And I don't think you have to be a Navajo code talker to figure out that they're talking about the president. So there may be some, kind of impracticalities to the idea of masking names fully from public disclosure. But there is a philosophy that Rod Rosenstein seems to have, which is you don't just drag people through the mud. I mean, I think you look back at Ray Donovan, the labor secretary who was acquitted at trial, saying, what office do I go to get my reputation back? I think Rod remembers historical moments like that and worries about some of the collateral damage that can come.
And yet, April, Rod Rosenstein, was supposed to, according to a lot of the reporting, be either, leaving as soon as Bill Barr took over or very soon thereafter. He didn't. And now we understand he plans to stay until the Mueller report or the Mueller findings come out, because he wants to be a heat shield for the fallout that he expects to happen. What does that mean? I mean, obviously we know there's going to be political fallout, but the fact that he's saying that.
Well, he wants to be a heat shield. That's what he wants, but he will be a heat shield. According to my sources, no matter what comes out, the president is going to blame Rod Rosenstein for whatever, particularly if there's some kind of negative connotation that, or not just negative connotation, but if this goes into a realm of pushing this to prosecutors around the country, particularly in the 9th District, and then also if it's pushed to the House to hold hearings on this, Rod Rosenstein will be the fall guy for this. The president and the White House are already making plans for that.
So Harry, when the Attorney General was asked, Bill Barr, in his confirmation hearings, a crucial question was, what are you going to do with the Mueller report, right? Yep. Are you for putting it out there for the American people to see or not? And after 673 days, and the question of Russian hacking, and 37 individuals and entities charged, of which almost all of them are Russian, it is clear that this country was attacked during the election, and people want to know what he found out. So when he was asked again and again about releasing the information, he gave himself space. Let me play exactly what he said.
I am going to make as much information available as I can, consistent with the rules and regulations that are part of the special counsel regulations. I'm in favor of as much transparency as there can be, consistent with the rules and the law. I don't know what at the end of the day, what will be releasable. I don't know what Bob Mueller is writing.
Bob, Bill Barr is a very respected person, right? Clearly, and everybody has said so. Would he cover for Trump in any way, in the way that Trump clearly expects people who work for him to do? Like he was frustrated with Jeff Sessions, right? Like he gets about people.
I mean, I think that it's unlikely that he would cover for Trump for the sake of covering for Trump. It may well be that there are other principles that are important to him, some of which should be important to everyone, that lead him to conclude that no, it can't be released in its entirety. And so in that sense, Barr doing what he thinks is right could to some extent line up with what Trump would like to see. But at the same time, he did make a commitment to the maximum possible disclosure, and I think it's appropriate for members of the Senate who got those promises to hold him accountable for it and to call him back if he releases nothing and say, how could it be that the maximum amount disclosable is nothing? You need to do more than this. So that's the debate I imagine we'll see unfold.
And James, is it obviously just, you look at this as an American citizen and you think we want to know, right? We want to know what happened. You want to know whether, even if you don't have conspiracy in the legal sense, if that's the standard and then they don't release it because they don't have something indictable. But you do have all sorts of collusion and inappropriate things or people who were unwitting agents or whatever it might have been. Do you think Rod Rosenstein will still think that the American people have the right to see that narrative?
I think Rod's going to be consistent with Barr on that there are rules that pre-exist, that are there in place for all sorts of investigations. You don't bend the rules to make a statement on this case. So there may be some maddening redactions. There may well be things that are sensitive, that are privileged, that are subject to executive privilege fights, for instance, where we would all, just kind of as citizens, want to be able to read every line of it, and we're not.